Welcome to notebook number 6, Boolean selection, multiple conditions. So in the last notebook, we covered single conditions. In this notebook, we're going to do multiple conditions. And in regular Python, when we talk about doing multiple condition logical operations, we use these logical operators and, or, and not. So I'm going to start here using some basic conditions. So we'll begin with just a single condition over here. So is 5 greater than 2? And then we can have an and to do multiple conditions. So this is where both conditions must be true. So 10 greater than 8, well, they're both true. So this whole expression evaluates as true. If one of them is false, then the expression evaluates as false. Then we can do an or condition when you have two separate conditions over here, and only one of them must be true for the whole thing to evaluate as true. We have that. The not operator will take an entire expression. You have to be careful here, and it will happen first. It'll actually execute before the or condition. So if we want to say not of this entire condition, we have to actually add parentheses over here. So this will invert that to false. Now, in pandas, you cannot use and, or, and not. These are only for like scalar conditions like this. They do not work for comparing when you're doing multiple Boolean conditions in a series. We have to use these different operators over here, the ampersand for and, the pipe symbol for or, and this tilde for not. So we have different syntax to represent the different logical operators and, or, and not. All right, so let's go ahead and get started over here. So we're going to read in again our bikes data frame. And let's do our first multiple condition, and let's find rides longer than 100 seconds by males. So the way I like to introduce this is to create two filters, one for each condition. So we have filt 1, say bikes, the trip duration, we want it to be longer than 1,000 seconds. Okay, that's the first one. And we have filt 2, we have bikes of gender equal to male. So I've already seen how each one of those acts independently. Now, what we want to happen for this, to make this correct selection, is that both of these have to be true. If we want rides longer than 1,000 seconds by males, then this is an and condition. And then our final filt, so this is the one we will actually pass into the square brackets, is just going to be a combination of filt 1 and filt 2 like this, with an ampersand separating them. So it'll apply element by element conditions, or this element by element and operation. And let's go ahead and execute this, and then we'll see filt.head is now a single Boolean condition. Let's go ahead and look at each one separately real quick. So we have filt1.head, and we have filt2.head over here. So filt1 is only true for this for the third row right here. Filt2, which is just that gender equals male, is true for all of them, and maybe we should look at the first 10 to see if we can have a female in here. So the last one is female. Let's change it to that. So in order for the overall filter, this one to be true, they both have to be true, and that's true for index 2 and index 8. So that's true for both of those like that. You can see there. And now let's look at, we already have it over here. Let's look at filt number 10. So this is the only, so number 2 and number 8. Again, those are the only ones that will be true overall, that meet both conditions. Okay, so the last step here, and now I will just delete these, is to pass in this final filter into bikes. And we'll just do .head. So in this case, you have to be male with a trip duration greater than 1,000. So both of these have to be true in order for the entire expression to be true. All right, now I'm going to rewrite this in a single line. Sometimes you will see this, and let's go ahead and just copy this over here. So what's common is not to write this in separate filters. The reason I do this in the beginning is just so it's more instructive to see what's happening. But you certainly can write this in one line like this. Now, if we try to do this, this looks like it should work, but in fact, you'll get an error here. And this is because this ampersand actually has higher precedence then this greater than sign. So what's going to happen first is Python will try to evaluate this 1,000 and bike's gender, and that doesn't really make any sense, so you're going to get an error here. What you have to do is wrap parentheses around each condition. So each condition must have parentheses around it like this, or else you will get an error. So this forces Python to do this first, then this condition, and then apply the AND operation. And I will go ahead and just do the filter like this. So we'll pass it immediately into here like that. So that'll give you the exact same result. You can go even one step further and copy and paste that all into here. That is a lot on one line. I kind of like to separate things out. So there's nothing wrong with writing the expression like this. I think it's pretty clear to me, especially when you're first learning to write your conditions separately like that. Now let's move on to an OR condition. So we could say, let's go ahead and actually just copy and paste this and move it down here. So let's say we want a trip duration, let's just say greater than 5,000, or the gender equal to female, and we'll change this to the pipe symbol, which does the OR operation. So either trip duration is greater than 5,000 or the gender is female. And let's go ahead and just pass in the filter directly to our data frame. And so here we go. So we can see it's always good to double check that to see that the filter worked properly. So here we have gender female. It's only one of them has to be true. Now if the trip duration is 5,000, or if the gender is male, then the trip duration better be greater than 5,000 to make the other one true as well. Okay, so that is just the very basics of doing multiple conditions with and OR operations.